Okay, so picture this, right? It's like the peak of the dot-com boom, and everybody and their cousin is, throwing money at anything with a .com at the end, like it's going out of style. And you got a chance to buy Google. Okay. But how much would you actually pay for that? It's a tough one, I know. We all want to be like investment gurus. But let's be real for a second. That fear of bubbles, right? Of ending up like those folks who lost trillions. It's real. It gets to you.
Yeah.
So this is where Morgan Housel comes in.
Right.
His book, I'm telling you, blew my mind with this whole idea of investors basically playing completely different games on Wall Street without even realizing it. Yeah. And get this right. Those insane prices during the dot-com bubble, the ones that seemed crazy.
Yeah.
Housel says they actually made sense to some investors, just maybe not the ones playing your game, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's tempting to kind of just dismiss those times as pure greed, right? Like that's a very surface level take. But the real story here, at least as Housel tells it, is way more, nuanced and honestly a lot more interesting when you dig in. It all starts with, we got to consider the different timelines at play.
Okay, so we're talking about like this time horizon trap thing he talks about.
Exactly.
Because he kicks off the book with this line, and it's like a gut punch, right? He's like, 6.2 trillion done, poof. That's how much household wealth just evaporated after the dot-com bubble burst.
Wow.
And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, you've got the housing crisis comes along and takes another $8 trillion bite out of people's savings. Like, I don't know about you, but when I hear numbers like that, it makes me just want to like take all my money and just like stuff it under the mattress.
Right.
But Housel says there's a better way.
Yeah, there is. And it all boils down to understanding that like a day trader, right? Someone working on those 24-hour timelines, they're living in a totally different universe than someone who's, say, investing for retirement, decades down the line.
Right.
What's a massive, earthquake for one is just a little tremor for the other. They're playing different games.
Okay, so you've got these day traders, right? They're chasing those quick profits versus the long-term investors who are looking at the bigger picture.
Exactly.
So where do things start to go off the rails? Where's the disconnect?
Well, it's when that short-term thinking, right? It starts to dominate the market.
Mm-hmm.
Like Housel uses this crazy example of Yahoo back in the day, trading at these multiples that made zero sense if you actually sat down and did the math, looked at their actual earnings.
Yeah.
But those prices, as crazy as they were, they did make sense to someone playing a very different game, right? Someone with a way, way shorter time horizon.
Yeah, and during the dot-com bubble, man, that short-term thinking was like, it was everywhere, it was contagious.
It really was.
Like Housel even talks about her mutual funds, right?
Yeah.
These are things that are supposed to be for the long haul, like set it and forget it. These things were turning over their holdings at like insane rates. Like some of them were seeing 120% annual turnover. Just to put that in perspective for folks, imagine like completely swapping out your entire investment portfolio, like more than once a year.
Wild.
To some serious short-term thinking there.
Oh, absolutely.
And then, of course, everyone and their grandma remembers the whole day trading frenzy, right?
Oh, wow.
People glued to their screens, like, chasing the next big thing, losing fortunes overnight. It was a wild time.
It really was. And that frenzy, that's exactly what was fueling those, insane valuations. Think of it this way. As more and more of that short-term money floods the market, right?
Yeah.
The balance of power starts to shift. And suddenly the prices, they're not being set by these, level-headed long-term investors anymore. It's being set by, it's like a giant game of hot potato.
Yeah.
Just with millions, billions of dollars on the line. It gets scary fast.
Yeah, and before you know it, bam, you've got a full-blown bubble on your hands.
Exactly.
It's like we're all sitting at the same table playing poker, right? But some of us are using, Monopoly money, and others are, shoving their houses into the pot. It's no wonder things get out of hand so quickly,
Yeah.
And what's crazy? Even when you know all this, intellectually you know how bubbles work, it's still so easy to get sucked in. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
It's that fear of missing out. Imagine you're sitting there looking at your portfolio and everyone else is, getting rich off this, tech stock. You never even heard of it before.
Right.
But suddenly you feel this, this twinge, right?
Yeah. FOMO starts to creep in.
It's powerful because it's not just, wanting what other people have, it's also that social proof thing, right?
Oh, yeah. If everyone else is doing it.
Exactly. We're wired to look to others, especially in situations where we're not sure what to do. And so, you see everyone around you seemingly making a killing on like Cisco, right?
Yeah.
Even if in the back of your mind, you're like, wait a minute, $600 billion. Really? For that?
You start to second guess yourself.
Big time. You're like, am I missing something here? Does everyone else know something I don't? Am I the idiot?
And that's where having a solid grasp on like what Housel calls your investing game
Yeah.
is so important. Like his whole point is that just because a price exists in the market, right? I mean, we see it on the ticker tape, doesn't mean it's the right price for you, for your goals, for your time horizon.
Yeah, it reminds me of that saying, like, don't compare your insides to other people's outsides.
I like that.
Like, we see the fancy cars, the vacations, the, Instagram-worthy lifestyle, but we rarely see, like, the debt behind it, the sacrifices, maybe even the misery that someone's hiding behind that facade.
Oh, totally. We don't see the why behind the what.
Exactly.
And, speaking of different games, like this whole idea, it's not just limited to investing either. Like, House makes this really interesting point about how it shows up in our spending habits too. He uses this great example, actually. He talks about, like, imagine you've got a high-powered lawyer and then like a freelance writer.
Gotcha. Two totally different worlds.
Right. But let's say, for argument's sake, they both make roughly the same amount of money.
Okay. I'm intrigued. So same income, but
totally different spending needs and like motivations. Like the lawyer, they've got to maintain a certain image, right?
I know, yeah.
It's part of their job, the tailored suits, the client dinners, maybe even living in a certain neighborhood. Like that's all part of the game for them.
Yeah, whereas the writer can be like, working from their pajamas in a coffee shop and no one even bats an eye.
Exactly. But here's the thing.
Hit me.
We don't see those underlying motivations, right? Like we just see the surface.
We see the car, the clothes, the vacations, and we're like, oh man, I should be doing that too. But we're missing like the whole context.
Totally. And that's where we trip ourselves up.
Yeah.
We're comparing like chapter 2 of our life to somebody else's, like chapter 20. And we have no idea how they actually got there.
Right. We're comparing our blooper reel to their highlight reel. It's never going to look pretty.
Exactly. It's just not a fair comparison. So the question is, right, how do we break free from that comparison game, whether it's about our investments, our spending, you name it?
Yeah, give us the secret sauce also.
Well, you know what I love about this book? His answer is so simple, but it's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
He basically says, define your own game.
Right.
Like he's a huge advocate for having like a clear investment mission statement.
Okay, I like that.
Just like a company would have, right?
Yeah.
It's a short, concise declaration of like, here are my goals, here's my time horizon, here's how much risk I'm comfortable taking on,
Like cut through all the noise.
Exactly. It's about like focusing on what truly matters to you.
Love it. And the best part is, right, he doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk.
Yeah.
Like Housel actually shares his own investing mission statement in the book.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. He says, and I'm just going to quote this directly, he's like, I'm a passive investor, optimistic in the world's ability to generate real economic growth over the next 30 years.
I like that.
Right. See how that one simple statement, it helps him kind of like cut through all the noise, right?
Yeah.
Ignore the daily ups and downs and just stay focused on that long game.
Absolutely.
You can do the same thing. It's not rocket science. Right?
It's not.
It's just about being intentional.
And I think writing it down like he did, that's key too.
Totally.
Because it's like, it's more than just a thought in your head at that point, right?
Right.
It's something tangible. It's a touchstone.
Yeah. You can go back and like revisit it. Right.
Exactly. When you inevitably start to doubt yourself or the market starts going crazy and you get caught up in that FOMO feeling.
Right. It's like, come back to this.
Yeah. It's like having your own like personal North Star. It'll guide your decisions when things get rough.
I love that. Okay, so for our listeners out there, right, if there's one thing I want you to take away from this whole deep dive today, it's this. Grab a notebook, jot this down. What game are you playing? With your investments, with your life, whatever. Are you in it for that quick buck? Or are you playing the long game? And once you've got that figured out, once you have that clarity, then you can actually start making decisions that align with your goals. Not your neighbors, not your buddies, but yours.
It's about defining what success actually means to you and then creating a plan to achieve it. on your terms.
And that, my friend, is how you win at the investing game, whatever game you choose to play, right?
You got it.
On that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive, folks. But keep those conversations going. We want to hear from you. What resonated with you today? What questions does this all spark for you about your own, financial journey? Keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and most importantly, keep learning. That's what we're all about here. Until next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Becoming a Millionaire in 5 years. Remember, every small step you take today brings you closer to your millionaire goals. If you found value in today's video, please give us a thumbs up and share it with someone who's also ready to change their financial future. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Together, let's turn those dreams into reality. See you next time.